Okay, yeah, Randy Feldface was right. It is weird being scared by this. It is really weird being scared by this. You wanna know how nervous I am right now? I completely forgot to turn on VTube Studio. Yeah. I'm halfway down a cup of coffee. Just trying to... I don't know. I was about to say take the edge off, but I have alcohol for that. It's weird. It's weird because I've never done something like this before. No, we're not gonna recreate the stand-up for Randy Writes a Novel. Because for the stand-up comedy special, Randy Writes a Novel, he didn't actually write a novel. That was just the bit. Because, like... The big difference here between Nate Cooper's book club and Randy Writes a Novel is I've actually written something. And it recently broke the 10K word count mark. Specifically, it is currently at 11,345. With, just under 50,000, characters. 61,000 if you include all the spaces in there. Yes, so, yeah, the reason we're here today is because I actually am doing it. I am actually writing a book. What's this about Lance Armstrong? Oh, look, there he is now. Now, I don't know about Lance Armstrong, but, yeah. And Mecha Wolf, I'm not sure Ernest Hemingway is the best artist to take away from this. I did not look into Ernest Hemingway to prepare for this stream. I actually looked into Arthur C. Clarke. Fascinating man, Arthur C. Clarke, actually. What's fascinating about him? Well, besides the fact that he's the greatest science fiction writer of all time. Well, I think he's more put together than Ernest Hemingway was. Because, see, if we were to compare the two of them, Ernest Hemingway, that lunatic became the self-appointed leader for a band of freedom fighters outside Paris, was subsequently brought up on charges for violating the Geneva Convention, and got away with it. That was him in World War II. What was Arthur C. Clarke doing in World War II? He was a radar operator. I mean, that's grounded. I could get behind that. From what I read of him, Arthur C. Clarke had a relatively normal life. Ernest Hemingway shot himself in the foot while aiming at a shark. And got clawed in the face while playing with a lion. And blew his own head off. No Ray Bradbury? I don't know about Ray Bradbury. Another artist I considered looking into was James S.A. Corey, which is actually two people who most of you probably remember them from the Expanse books. Or that one time they wrote a Star Wars book. It's probably the closest thing we're gonna get to best sci-fi writer without being Arthur C. Clarke. I mean, that's the guy that wrote 2001 Space Odyssey and Rama. And to quote the great Morgan Freeman, Rama is the greatest science fiction novel ever made by man. Now, I heard him say that before I went and actually read Rama. And so when I went into Rama, audiobook specifically, how I went into Rama, when I went into it, the first thought I had in my head was, okay, supposed greatest science fiction novel of all time, what do you got? And having listened to that thing entirely, I only have this to say: read Rama. Oh my god, read Rama. That book, it's so good, actually. What's the story about? Great big giant cylindrical alien starship sneaks its way into the solar system. Nobody really cares at first about this thing until we decide to point a telescope at it and realize the thing's too cylindrical. That doohickey there is an alien spaceship. And at this point, we don't actually have enough time to send in the best and brightest that humanity has to offer. So we go with the nearest spaceship. And you get this group of schmucks who gets to go in and undertake basically one of the greatest feats of human history: first contact. Are you hooked? 'Cause you should be. Now, what gets me about Rama is it's very good at confusing you. It's very good at laying out its mystery. And by the end of it, we will still have many, many questions because there are just things here beyond our comprehension. Just certain aspects of this machine that we don't understand. Like, we conceptualize how the engine works, and we have absolutely no idea how the fuck it actually works. And somehow Arthur C. Clarke is able to convey just how little we understand about all of this. And then there are 5 more Rama books, each of which are less good than the previous one. I don't even remember if Arthur had a hand in those. Oh, but it keeps going. There's even a video game that has Arthur C. Clarke in it. But you probably shouldn't play that because I think it came out in 1995. And it's really old, and it's hard to get it running. Fascinating stories that Mr. Clarke was able to convey. 2001, A Space Odyssey. Now, some of you may have seen the movie. Many of you have probably seen the movie rather than read the book. But fascinating story. Revolutionary effects in filmmaking for its time. They took a lot of risks with it, but there's one undeniable fact about 2001: A Space Odyssey that I think nobody will be able to deny. That fact being, it is so unbelievably boring. It is so unbelievably boring. We are landing on the moon, and for some reason, the filmmakers decided we need to show every single grueling, slow second of this process. How long does it take? It takes about 5 minutes. And yes, this is the movie with HAL 9000. Do you know how long it takes for us to kill HAL? It takes us about 8 minutes to kill HAL. It takes us another 8 minutes to get in position to kill HAL. It takes us 10 minutes before that to go out and get a corpse that HAL just murdered. It is a gruelingly slow movie. And then, at the end of it, we enter this device known as the Kubrick, which is a machine where you somehow watch yourself grow old and then become a giant space baby. What? Just what? 4 little letters, what? That is the question you're gonna ask a lot. Another question you're going to ask is why? Maybe some of the answers are in the sequel, 2010, the year we made contact, which was not as good. Arthur was a fascinating man. I saw someone mention Isaac Asimov as well, and that got me thinking, is Isaac Clarke from Dead Space just Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke put together? Is that where that name comes from? Was that the inspiration? Because if it is, it's a little on the nose. I don't even think either of them wrote a space horror book. And that's because I don't actually know of any space horror books. Well, okay, there's one, but that's the Dead Space book, and that's cheating. And yes, there's a Dead Space book. There's also 2 anime movies I bet you didn't know about. Did you know that? I bet you didn't. You probably only knew about the one. No. There are 2. I have a bit of a confession about James S.A. Corey, actually. It's a secret I thought I would take to my grave, but... Here, let me go grab it, actually. It's right over here. I know where it is, at least. I recently replaced the bookmark on it. Now, what I hold in my hands is... It's the only James S.A. Corey book I actually own. Specifically, this is book 4, Cibola Burn. This is the... How long is this thing? It's 581 pages. And I didn't even read the whole thing. How far did I get? Well, a bookmark here can tell us. I only got to page 221. I did most of my reading for this book on a cruise ship. In fact, that's why I bought the book in the first place, was to read on the one cruise that I went on back in 2019. Since then, this book has been sitting on my shelf collecting dust. Now, for those of you who are sitting there wondering, oh, well, if it's an Expanse book, where was it adapted? This was adapted into Season 4 of the show. An awesome adaptation, if I do say so myself. In terms of book adaptations into film or TV, The Expanse is quite possibly one of the greatest. They adapted, I believe, everything up to either book 5 or 6. They had to end it rather abruptly because I think between books 6 and 7, there's a multi-year time skip. And it's honestly probably a good thing that they ended when they did, because I know how The Expanse ends. And it does not end well for most of the characters we've come to know and love. But I was always so fascinated by The Expanse. I think the first clip I saw of The Expanse was when they took the ship, the Rocinante, to attack the space station. If you've seen the show, you know what I'm talking about. And it was just so Newtonian. It was a fascinating approach to space combat because not a lot of sci-fi likes to use Newtonian physics. Newtonian physics being an object in motion stays in motion unless an outside force is acted upon it. This is how we keep satellites in orbit. Satellites basically go so fast you miss the ground. Like, imagine throwing a ball so fast that at the rate it's falling, it's keeping up with the curvature of the Earth. Now put it up where there's no air to slow it down. Orbiting 101. But now, take that thing in orbit, put a bunch of guns on it. And now we have to figure out how to make them fight. Which is something The Expanse does beautifully. Magnificently, I would say, actually. In fact, I would go so far to say that if you ever need to write any kind of space combat that uses Newtonian physics, you could absolutely use The Expanse as a reference guide. Another fantastic example of this comes from a game I was not kind to, but a game I would like to bring to people's attention once again. Because when the gaming channel tackled this game, I was but a young lad who had no idea what he was stepping into. But now, I'm old and fat and probably going to have a heart attack. But I know my physics. I've been to every planet in Kerbal Space Program. I filmed me going to every planet in Kerbal Space Program. I landed on it. I brought people back. I know exactly what I'm doing. And that is why Nexus the Jupiter Incident is an absolutely brilliant game that has a lot of what you want from a setting like this. Big ships with big engines on either side of them, and they got spinning bits, big giant centrifuge bits. That's hard sci-fi. Which is metal as shit. Now, hard sci-fi isn't mandatory, but it is nice. It is nice. Star Wars is not hard sci-fi. In fact, Star Wars doesn't really talk about a lot of things that make space combat space combat. Having holes punched into your ship, sealing off bulkheads to let them vent out. Or, just hear me out, venting the entire ship in the first place so that the pressure differences doesn't tear your ship in half. Star Wars doesn't talk about any of that. But maybe it doesn't need to. There are specific problems with Star Wars. But at the end of the day, it's World War II in space. Which is not a terrible idea. There's quite a few games like that. Most of them are Star Wars games. World War II in space with space magic. This special kind of space magic. And a surprising lack of ventral weaponry. we need to come down harder on Star Wars and its severe lack of ventral weapons, actually. I think there's way too many ships in Star Wars that have a disturbing lack of guns on the underside. One of the biggest offenders of this is the First Order Dreadnought from Episode 8. Oh, you know the one. The one where one fighter goes in and takes out about 13 turrets, which is all the turrets it has, apparently. But nobody seemed to think, well, wait, there are no guns on the underside. Why don't we just send our why don't we just send our bombers to the underside and blow up the big gun directly? Then they can't shoot at us anymore. It was here I realized Star Wars forgot a very important thing. Tactics. Star Wars, or at least modern Star Wars, has no tactics. How do I know this? They killed Admiral Akbar in the same fucking movie. What does that have to do with anything? Well, in EU, he was revered as something of a genius, but apparently in this new canon, he's only good at pointing out traps and shit. And then the movie devolves into space chase. It's at that moment I went to Wikipedia to look up the Resistance bomber. That horrible, horrible, horrible Resistance bomber that we all hate. And that's when I discovered that thing's got a hyperdrive. So wait, if it has a hyperdrive, why didn't you just light speed ram into the Dreadnought and save us a whole load of bombers? You already broke Star Wars physics. What's one more? And considering they had Y-Wings in the last movie, why did we even have these things in the first place? Star Wars is a fascinating case study of extreme lack of tactics. Even in the 9th movie, the Resistance just kind of throws itself at the First Order, and for some reason the First Order is cataclysmically incapable of stopping them. So really, it's just a battle of incompetence, more than anything else. And the fact that you've now trivialized the ability to destroy a planet down to something you can mount on a cruiser. That was very stupid. Now, they never should have done that. Because now we can't use the planet-destroying laser ever again. Because now it's just... well, who gives a shit? You can put that on your car at this point. No. It needs to be bigger than that. You know how much effort it takes to destroy a planet? Well, I don't actually know, but I have planet cracked at one point in my life. What's a planet crack? Well, that's a term from Dead Space where you tear off a giant chunk from a planet. Nate, when the hell did you do that? That's classified. But it might not be for much longer. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason we're all here is because I wrote a book. Or, well, I am writing a book. Now, you can all cheer, but it's kind of really bad right now. Now, it's one thing I do remember from that Ernest Hemingway said, the first draft of everything is shit. And, yeah, reading back my book has been, well, not pleasant to say the least, but I have done several passes of chapter 1. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about why we're all here, what we all came here for. So, yes, there is a book that I am writing. Now, the idea kinda popped into my head. I can actually give you an exact date. I believe it was Tuesday, October 28th of this year. That was the day before I was fired from my D&D job. So that kind of sucked. That was actually really inconvenient for me because we were going into, I believe that was our last Dead Space remake stream, and we were 2 days away from the Halloween stream, the biggest stream of the year. Oh boy, I get to go into the Halloween stream with this hanging over my shoulders. But then, I realized I have an enormous time gap now and I need to fill it. And suddenly, there was a lot of time for me to actually write this book. So now there's been steady progress. I've managed to chisel out a chapter almost every week. And currently, I am very, very much deep into the weeds of chapter 4. Now, how far am I into chapter 4? Well, chapter 3 was the longest one so far. I believe that was around 4,000 words. And ooh, let's see here. Give me a word count. That's at 2,734 words so far. For reference, chapter 3 was longer than that. Let me get a word count. The first 2 chapters are much shorter. I see here. Word count. Yeah, there's 4,500 words in Chapter 3. There was a lot going on in Chapter 3. There's a lot going on in Chapter 4. We haven't even started talking about the waffles. The waffles. So, my book is called Rebel Spark. It is a not really first-hand, I'd say second-hand accounting of the origins of Nate Cooper, the opening months of the war, and how everything came about and culminated in the infamous Battle of Aegis. It's a real page-turner. But now that I have written a bunch of it, I am terrified to actually read it. Because it might be kind of crap. Going back to that thing Ernest Hemingway said, the first draft of everything is shit. This has not gone through an editor. And it won't until at least next year. Because the company I am talking to really wants to look at the manuscript, but the manuscript isn't done yet. How can I give you the manuscript for Rebel Spark if Rebel Spark is not done yet? I have no idea how Rebel Spark is going to pan out for me career-wise, because, it's not like a video where I can just release it, see that it only got 100 views, and then contemplate drowning myself in my sorrows. Yeah, you thought that was going to a very dark place, but no, it's not. I'm just going to drink lots and lots and lots and lots of alcohol. What's a manuscript? Basically, the unedited, finished book. This is the book. I am handing it to you, the publisher. Please edit it and make it legible. And then release it unto the masses. And that's what I have in front of me right now. It's 22 pages long, but I'm not really paying attention to the page count because once this thing gets printed, there's a good chance all the words are going to be enlarged, and those 22 pages will turn into 35. It's a matter of perspective and font size. I think word count is a better thing to pay attention to. Don't look at page count. Nobody gives a shit about page count. You're gonna increase the size of the font anyway when this goes to print. What you should pay attention to is how many words are in it. Lots and lots and lots of words. Short book? No, it's not done yet. I have a lot of story to tell. A lot of story to tell. A lot of story to tell. Look, if this pans out, I'm gonna need to make a second book. And a third. And fourth. Fifth. Sixth? Yeah, sixth. 7. 8? Probably 8, yeah. 9. Maybe 10, but not 11. I created this concept, years ago. Back when I had a team that I could go to and say, let's make a TV show. And then I wrote an entire show. But it didn't go anywhere. And you know what happened with that TV show? Well, it became me, Nate Cooper. Hi. The whole concept of me was derived from a TV show that never got made. And here we are now. But then it hit me recently. I have all this lore, I have all this backstory, I have everything written down, but I have no effective way to tell that story. And that's when it hit me. I was asking the ship's AI recently, how can we convey this story? And what did he come up with?
Book.
To which I said, book. And that was the promo video that we aired on Halloween. So, there's a lot of story here. There's an ocean's worth of story. Recently, I waded out into said ocean a little bit. The water, well, it seems inviting to me. But I decided I wanted to get some actual, real, tangible feedback from other people about it. So, what we're going to do is I am going to read chapter 1 out loud. You guys are going to react, and then we will all collectively decide if this is an enormous waste of my time. Okay? Alright. Here we go. Everybody comfortable? You don't have to go to the bathroom or get a drink or anything? If you do, it's just no problem. I think Viper does it all the time. I will not notice if you leave. Now I will say, I will say, yes, I will be answering questions, but please hold them until the end. Okay. Okay, here we go. 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 Read it. Oh, look, I have 8 emails. I should probably... Oh, look, there's the the Mystery VTube Theater mystery guest that I need. Yeah, actually, that is important. I do need to reply to that. Hang on. That is important. I do need to do that. Like, that is actually an email I've been waiting on. Okay. Wait, what was that email? No, I'm not buying another HTC Vive, goddammit! I have a Vive. I'm happy with my current Vive. If I'm gonna buy another VR headset, it's probably gonna be that Valve one if it's affordable. But even then, probably not. Okay. All right, here we go. Read the fucking book. Okay. Okay. No, Mecha Wolf, he was actually right about this. Shit. It is weird being scared by this. I do public stuff like this all the freaking time. I mean, what is a YouTube video? I spend weeks and weeks working on a YouTube video, and I won't know what people think of it until it's out there. The book is the same thing, but it's... I feel like there were nuggets of wisdom in Randy Writes a Novel. Because he's right. With a book, I won't know what people think of it until it's out there, until I don't sell 1 million copies. I'm not expecting to sell 1 million copies, but like... I'm hoping this could springboard something. Okay. Rebel Spark. Fascinating man, Arthur C. No, all right. Here we go. For real. For real this time. For really real. Here we go. Rebel Spark. Chapter 1. The Martian Born. Morning sunlight peeked through the blinds of a young man's window, the solar system now making an effort to awaken him from his sleep. He had already endured the same alarm clock activating 3 times and was only barely making an effort to not drift off again. Knowing one way or another he would have to get up, and he was only delaying the inevitable. With the mental fortitude of a sloth, he steeled himself to sit up on the bed, his blue hair glistening off the rays of sun that had snuck through the blinds. Plucking the sleep from his eyes, he turned his attention to the clock, which had failed to coax him to lucidity. The glowing amber display read 7:50 a.m., September 3rd, 2666. I actually had to look up what date that would end up being. Turns out it's a Monday. Okay, back to reading, because that little fact snippet isn't in the book. He cast his tired mind back 50 minutes ago when the first alarm rang and was mildly satisfied that he'd made this much progress in less than an hour. It was the tiny motivation he needed. Slapping both cheeks to jolt his senses once more. Sorry, I can't read aloud very good, which is why this is probably gonna get interrupted by me stumbling over words a few times. Slapping both cheeks to jolt his senses once more, he pulled off the covers and planted his feet on the floor. "Blinds," he said aloud. A moment later, he could hear the box atop his window whir to life as the blinds rose, letting the light pour into the bedroom. Pulling himself up and over to the window, 17-year-old Nate Cooper tiredly gazed out upon the Martian city before him. The sleek towers of Tharsis City stood off in the distance like a jagged silver crown. His own residential district didn't rise nearly as high, but the view was still magnificent. I want to replace the word magnificent here, but I'm still trying to find a word to replace it with because I think magnificent is too big of a word. I'll get back to you on that. His house sat atop a hill that gave him an elevated scene before him, but this hill did not compare to what was out the window. Peering to the left, he took in the imposing sight of Olympus Mons, the largest volcanic peak in the solar system, and the dominant feature of his bedroom window. View. Bedroom view. Stellar? I might use stellar. Nate took comfort in the landscape before him. Though humanity had now spread across the stars, he was still a proud citizen of Mars, still practically the doorstep of his species. He had some desire to pursue the vast unknown. Most people did. But he found comfort here at home where he was born and raised. Turning his attention to the wardrobe, Nate stepped over the half-empty travel bag still laying at the foot of his bed, not fully unpacked from his tenure on Earth a month ago. "I'll get to it eventually," he thought to himself, as he glanced at the calendar draped over the wardrobe. Return to class stared at him from where today's date lay. He reached inside and retrieved his laundered prep school uniform. After a brief jaunt across the hall to the bathroom, he had it donned and was adjusting the buttons on his gray blazer when his eyes wandered to the rifle displayed on the wall above his desk. That's a run-on sentence if I ever saw one. Jesus. The M276 Argus long rifle, now sporting a light layer of dust, made him recall the bears he had to shoot when introducing them to the Martian ecosystem had gone horribly wrong. A shipping error had led to far more bears than requested, requiring citizens to form hunting parties to bring the numbers back down to sustainable levels. Terraforming on the Red Planet was still ongoing, despite efforts starting nearly 350 years ago. It was a slow and arduous process that often had hiccups, like too many animals being brought in all at once. It was 3 years in the past now, though, and Nate didn't have time to reflect on it for long. His blazer was now buttoned up, and he had to start the day. Stepping out into the kitchen, Nate was greeted with the aroma of freshly toasted coffee and all other smells of breakfast. Toasted bread, coffee, and all the other smells of breakfast. Like I said, this... His brother Jason acknowledged him with a nod as he entered, standing in front of a sizzling stovetop, meticulously preparing a skillet of eggs. "Just us this morning?" Nate asked as he grabbed a mug and slid into the breakfast nook, turning his attention to the news broadcast on screen across the room. "Dad has his engine testing today, and Mom got an early start on her shift, too," Jason responded as he divided the eggs onto 2 plates. Nate gave an affirming in response as he went in for his first sip of coffee. The news broadcast was discussing ongoing hostilities in the Hieronymus Delta region, a galactic quadrant nearly halfway to the other side of the Milky Way. USCM forces had just committed another flotilla to the conflict, hoping it will bring a swift end to the war. And it's got a little blue line under the word will bring a swift end to the war. I'm not entirely sure how to reword that into the past tense, given the context of things that happened later in the book. I'll get back to you guys on that one as well. This particular war had been raging since even before Nate's tenure on Earth 2 years ago. A race called the Ningyo had overstepped their territory to mine mineral-rich asteroids in that area of space. The United States corporate military was deployed in kind. The hope was that the conflict would end quickly, but things have dragged out far longer than estimates. By the time Jason was done cooking, set the plates out, and had sat opposite from Nate, the broadcast had shifted focus to protests in downtown Tharsis City. The prolonged war had also led to UCM exploiting sovereign colony resources in the Formorian frontier, which subsequently led to civil unease here at home. There was even talk of armed uprisings, but those hadn't gained any credibility. "You're seriously set on going to that today?" Nate asks, with a nod over to the TV, which displayed a growing crowd of protesters. They held signs that said things like "End Sovereign Exploitation" and "Fix the USCM." The scene was restless, but not violent. One protester even sported a giant straw with a sign that said, "This is the last straw," held by one who was clearly trying to add some humor to the scene. Maybe paper trying to make you say was? Yeah. I have it. I'm probably going to highlight it. Well, it is highlighted. "You're seriously still set on joining the USCM?" Jason responded by answering the question with another question. Nate half rolled his eyes as if to say, "Here we go again." While Nate looked up to his older brother, and they didn't feud often, this was the one topic they could never see eye to eye on. He continued, "If you don't complain, nothing ever gets fixed. Even here, most of the streets are practically under military occupation." He leaned in to emphasize his words. "You've seen it. I know you have. You were on Earth for 2 years. There's no way you didn't see the rampant corruption." Reading out loud makes your throat dry. Jason wasn't wrong. The USCM was the largest military entity in the galaxy, vastly overshadowing government forces. As a result, they had a tendency to throw their weight around and come down hard on anything that threatened the corporate parts of the United States corporate military. And Jason wasn't wrong about another thing. Nate had seen plenty on Earth to discourage him from enlisting. Frequent online outrage, less than subtle propaganda, and by the time he left, there was a new protest every week. You'd have to be living under a rock to not notice, or on one of those isolated moon colonies. Nate wasn't backing down, though. "I didn't spend 2 years abroad to not sign up," he said as he started in on the breakfast laid before him. It wasn't a tense conversation, almost as if they had this discussion every day. As Nate glanced back to the TV, the screen suddenly went black. Looking back to his brother, he saw a remote in his hand, apparently just used to turn it off. He set the remote down and threw up his hands. "There. Now we don't have to have politics at the breakfast table," still exerting his authority as the older brother. Jason had several years on Nate. Where Nate was now entering his last year of high school, Jason was fresh out of graduating college. The two of them weren't dissimilar in career path either, both trying to more or less follow in their father's engineering footsteps. This led to them agreeing on most things, which made this morning's debate that much more uncommon. Besides, you're going into astrophysics at school, right? It's not like USCM is your only career path, Jason said after a brief silence. The shipyards with Dad, deep space science vessels. Hell, you could even design your own ships if you wanted to go that far. Nate rolled his eyes in full and leaned back, taking a long sip of coffee before giving his response. Look, by the time I get to sign up, this war will probably be over and things will calm down again. Then we could all go back to hating pirates and mercenary groups or whatever they're always fighting on the edge of the galaxy. He'd hoped that this would put a lid on the conversation, but only received the look from across the table that said otherwise. In hindsight, turning off the TV seemed to have done nothing to save them from this debate. Their exchange went back and forth all through breakfast, neither side not wanting to back down. Neither side wanting to back down. See, I told you this was going to be rough. As Jason got up to move the plates to the sink, he let out a deep sigh. Look, you saw the same shitty organization that I did and said, yeah, I want to be a part of that. This left Nate uneasy, but he didn't interrupt. I'm not asking you to change your life goals. Just think about what I said. Nate didn't respond with words, but he did manage to nod. The rest of the morning, neither brother said a word to each other until the time came for them to head out. See you tonight, Jason said as he stepped out through the door and into the morning Martian sun. See ya, Nate said in kind as he followed not far behind, school bag in tow. The two of them went their separate ways in front of the house. Jason made his way right to his car parked nearby, while Nate made his way left to the shed at the end of the driveway. Unbolting the lock and swinging open the door, he came face to face with his black HS-50 moped, lovingly named Benny. Yes, Benny is in this book. I couldn't not. Benny was an old gas-powered 50cc scooter. Laughably outdated technology by the 2600s, but this one was in immaculate condition. Nate had become infatuated with this bike during his time on Earth. He bought it because it was affordable and he needed transportation, but it quickly turned into him loving it enough that it came home with him to Mars. Despite the cargo handling fees, Nate didn't regret the extra work it took to earn every credit. Fortunately, emission laws on the Red Planet still allowed engines up to 250cc. As long as Benny didn't get 5 times more powerful, the two wouldn't have to separate. Strapping on the open-face helmet and a pair of riding gloves, what Jason had said in the kitchen gave Nate pause for thought. You saw the same shitty organization that I did and said, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Surely the USCM wasn't all bad, he thought to himself as he pulled Benny from the shed and into the driveway. Joining the USCM had a lot of incentives and prospects. It was his dream to fly with them. He even had a poster of a Liberation-class frigate on his wall. His heart was set on this. Mounting the bike, Nate hit the ignition switch. The engine sputtered to life as he gave it a few revs to get it going. We'll make up later, he said aloud, knowing they always did. He set off down the road, not knowing what the day had in store for him. Until it was far too late. Chapter 1, ladies and gentlemen. So, we spend the first 4 chapters on Mars. I'll say that. We don't go into space for a while. First, though it is a space adventure, first and foremost. Well, not first, but foremost. It's... Yeah, that took me about a week to write. It's just under 2,000 words. For some reason, I had it in my head that it needs to break 2,000 words, but it didn't. Last straw joke was a good one. I got that from an actual protest. There was actually a protester that had a giant straw that said, "This is the last straw." There's some nice little humor in there. There's a lot of things in this book that aren't going to make a lot of sense. Every chapter I would like to add something where people look at it and they say, "What? That doesn't make any sense." Hence the 50cc scooter on the planet Mars. Bunch of those guys protesting should be wearing inflatable frog costumes. That didn't start happening until, I think, after I wrote the chapter. Or, I don't know. It's not really a detail I think we need to dwell on for too much. Well, Viper, the plan is to release the book. Like, I was just gonna read you guys the first chapter, and then get feedback, and get a consensus on, should I write the rest of the book? Because I'm not entirely sure how deep... I'm not entirely sure you guys know how deep this lore goes. I mentioned a few times over the past couple weeks that I have lore written out for 4,000 guns. Sorry, 400. 400 guns. This thing on my back is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, the Argus long rifle is just the first gun. And we actually mentioned it in this chapter. It is not a military-grade weapon. It's a civilian hunting rifle. We haven't even talked about the DH-6 laser pistol, or the R-65 assault rifle, or the Colt 1911. Yes, it's here. Of course it's here. If we can have a Colt 1911 in Warhammer 40k, we can have it in the year 2666. Please commit to writing it. Thank you. Another gun that we haven't even touched base on, I haven't even gotten to mention, but I absolutely love, is the Mark V Hammerhead breaching gun. You know what a breaching charge is? Well, it's like that, but it's a gun. Oh yeah, I said I had lore for 400 guns, I meant it. I'd like to see more of these book clubs. We'd probably have to do it for a chapter in the middle. Because one sci-fi book that I read while I was in... Well, two sci-fi books that I read while I was in middle school was Star Strike, which was another realistic interpretation on a squadron of SEAL team. Well, it was a SEAL team. Sorry, SEALs with an S at the end, because they added space to sea, land, air, and then, no, it's sea, air, land, and then they added another S at the end for space. And there's two books that I know of. There's, Mars something and Operation Orion. As far as I know, Operation Orion is the last one they wrote. But it was a more realistic interpretation on the military in space. And actually, like, the Mars one, they only spent the first few chapters on Mars. Well, they spent the first few chapters fucking getting to Mars, then they only spent a few chapters on Mars. Then they went to some other planet, and that's where the rest of the book took place. But Operation Orion, oh, they went all over the place with that book. Yeah. It's like the Master Key underbarrel shotgun. No, the Mark V Hammerhead breaching gun is more like a revolver that you can fit over your back. Like, you know, the shotgun in Mass Effect, how it folds up over your lower back? It's about that big. I told you I had lore, you didn't listen. And actually, the document that has all these guns listed also has the plot synopsis for the entire book. As far as how long I'm aiming for it to be, I don't actually know yet. Did you know that SEAL Team is copyright by the US government? I did not know that. That might be why they stopped writing it, but it's not SEAL Team, it's SEALs Team. Because they're in space. Isn't that clever? Just saying it had a similar role to blow out the lock on a door. Sometimes there isn't a lock, you just need to make a new door. And that's where you have the Mark V Hammerhead breaching gun. One thing you gotta know is, I like guns. I love guns. As much as I love them, I don't want to sleep with them. Which is why I'm all for, taking people's guns away. Well, okay, maybe not that far, but, like, we do need better background checks and all of that. I don't want to make this too political. Honestly, I'm trying to look up, the Star Strike book. Hang on. Most of you have probably never even heard of this book. But apparently it has a 4.5 on Apple Books. Task Force Mars was the name of it. There it is. Okay. And yes, you can buy it on paperback for like $8. It has a... Well, Operation Orion has a totally sick cover. Totally sick. I liked the chapter. Praise me more. So, guy who wrote wow, he actually has a lot more books than I realized. Yikes. Not until you start praising me. Well, write a book, mate! Alright, here's Task Force Mars. He released that in May 2007. May 2007? That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. No, Task Force Mars would have had to come out earlier than that. Because I remember Operation Orion came out, I think, my last year of middle school. I think I had Orion wrapped up by high school. But yeah, I'm looking at this here. He didn't write, I should say they. The 2 Star Strike books were written by 2 people. Also, I think one of them is a fucking blacksmith. I could be wrong. I'm into the visual arts. But write a visual novel. Sorry, graphic novel. Graphic novel. Visual novel is something else entirely. Star Strike was a fascinating take on actual, real military tactics in space. But it's a rather unknown book. And I'll say this, I'll speak the truth. I liked Operation Orion more than I liked Task Force Mars. And I'm not saying that just because we don't actually spend that much time on Mars. I'm also not saying that because the guy on the cover of Task Force Mars is clearly holding an AUG with a few modified bits. Seriously, you can look that up yourself. Like, that's clearly an AUG, but kind of futurized. And the face visor is also problematic. It's like, hey, shoot here, you'll kill him. Yeah. I broke that rule. Yeah, I kind of broke that rule, didn't I? Actually, the Nate Cooper universe breaks a lot of my own rules and things that I've ranted on, like have guns on the underside. Actually, that is a rule that I didn't break. I was very, very careful to make sure that, you know, ventral guns are a thing in the Nate Cooper universe, or the Cooperverse, as I call it, because Cooperverse rolls off the tongue way better. But yeah, the Freedom-class battleship absolutely has an overexposed bridge. Oh, but hey, it's got ventral turrets, including a mass driver cannon, which is basically the Cooperverse's equivalent of the Mac gun. But here's the problem with the Freedom-class battleship. We're not gonna see that until, like, book 4. If I write book 4. Like, I might not write book 2. Because book 1 has to work out first. Is this how J.K. Rowling felt? I'd hate to steal from a talentless hack like her, but oh my god, she is popular. JK is unfortunately very, very popular. But here's the problem with J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling did not write a masterpiece. She wrote Star Wars with sucky lightsabers. They are the exact same story, I swear to God. Like, actually, if we want to really get into terrible world building, lazy-ass storytelling, and stealing from other creators, I would argue J.K. Rowling is the poster child of everything you should not do as a writer. Stealing the same story beats, having extremely bad world building, and let's not forget, being one of the shittiest people on the fucking planet. Kids don't care about how terrible the author is. Yeah, but how about the story? Nobody talks about how unoriginal the story is. Like I said, she wrote Star Wars with sucky lightsabers. Think about it. Oh, what do we have here? A young boy who, has been separated from their parents. But suddenly, this old guy shows up in his life to teach him this ancient kind of magic. Now, granted, he's going to learn a lot more about this ancient kind of magic from an older, wiser wizard who's high most of the time. Regardless, his aunt and uncle are totally against this magic stuff. They won't even tell him what happened to his real parents. Regardless of how they feel about it, though, he leaves home for the first time, gets to go out and see the world, makes some new friends, meets a... what's the word here? Meets a strong, independent female lead, and though there will be an odd sexual tension throughout, he will only ever see her as a sister while she struggles with her feelings for his best friend, the scruffy comic relief. Now, if you think that's a little too on the nose, just think of the fact that both of these characters are also very good at going after small targets. Quidditch is another really bad idea, by the way. First of all, I'm pretty sure people get fucking killed in this school sport of theirs, but that whole game just kind of gets thrown out the window when you just have this one guy who has to catch the little fast golden thing to win the game. Who gives a shit about the rest of the game? Like, that apparently doesn't even matter. Terrible sports aside, no, I'm not done. Terrible sports aside, her world building is crap. Think about it. If you have a society of wizards that has easy and ready access to teleportation, and you still have your mail delivered by nature's slowest bird, that's animal cruelty. That is not okay. And I know what the fans are gonna argue. You're not allowed to teleport on Hogwarts grounds. Why are we basing the rules of our wizarding society on the bylaws of one school? The idea that I could teleport anywhere at will and I would still write my family a letter is ludicrous. Ludicrous. What the fuck? And if we want to be logistical about... Okay, Mecha Wolf, even if it was difficult, if we want to be logistical about J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World, Hogwarts is the Illuminati. Why are they not just helming the future of society and leading humanity into a brighter tomorrow as an oppressive regime that nobody can argue against. And even then, even if you're not an oppressive regime, you're seriously just gonna sit there and let the atrocities of the world just play out? Yeah, we're just gonna sit over here and do our own thing. The rest of humanity can... yeah, whatever. They launch nukes at each other. Pfft, not our problem. Why does magic need to be a secret? There would be infinite benefits of it being public knowledge. I think a lot of the problems with Hogwarts Illuminati stem from the fact that wizarding is a secret. There will be witch hunts, witch trials, and witch burnings, so saith J.K. Rowling. We've already established J.K. Rowling is a terrible storyteller, a terrible world builder, and a terrible person. Your move, J.K. There's one series that is a good explanation for why magic is outlawed. Witch Hat Atelier. Isn't that getting adapted? I think that's getting adapted next year. That's being done by a really good studio too, I think. Who was that again? Witch Hat Atelier. Oh yeah, this is definitely getting an anime series next year. Bug Films, that's who it was. They're the ones that did Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. Yes, we were talking about this in October when we streamed Bucket List of the Dead. Reason is it used to be public, but non-magical people went and unalived everyone who could use magic because ignorance and jealousy. That's fucking stupid. I don't think that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense. That's dumb, and I hate it. Magicry doesn't need to be a secret. Even if, that's what she's going for, they could still just go with the oppressive regime approach. Wasn't there a bucket list movie with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman? Yes. But this was Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead, which is an anime which is adapted from a manga. Anime is fascinating because a lot of anime comes from books. Like, a lot of books. In fact, I believe recent estimates stated that over in Japan, they have more paper dedicated to books than they have paper dedicated to... Bottle glitched. They have more paper dedicated to books and stuff than they have dedicated to toilet paper. So naturally, they have a lot of adaptations. Most overrated Ghibli movie? Oh, you are gonna hate me for this. You are gonna hate me for this opinion. It's Spirited Away. Great fucking movie, but absolutely blown out of proportion. Great movie. But we could stand to calm down about it. I'd argue Totoro is more legendary. Anyway. I was going somewhere with this. One of the few light novels I read before watching the anime was Spice and Wolf. Now, I only read the first one initially, and then we went to go stream Spice and Wolf, and I ended up reading more of them. It was here I discovered the vast discrepancies between the anime adaptation and the books. 'Cause turns out, Volume 4, they just didn't bother with that one initially. They took that one out so they could go straight to Volume 5, which was the one where he said, "I love you." Now, granted, they knew they weren't getting another season, and they wanted to wrap it up with a nice, bow. Now, in terms of, where I reside in actually reading Spice and Wolf, I read through Volume 4 before the... I read through Volume 4 before the new anime came out, and they actually adapted Volume 4. Which was interesting. It's weird seeing that happen. It's very weird seeing that happen. And since then, I have read Volume 5 and 6 and 7, and I'm currently somewhere in the middle of 8. I'll say this, the new adaptation is much, much, much closer to the book. That is a fantastic adaptation, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to anybody who happened to miss us streaming both of them on Anime Night, because we have streamed both of them, because Spice and Wolf is awesome. That's how book adaptations should go. Unfortunately, things like Promised Neverland Season 2 exist. This is where things go from great to very, very fuck. And for the record, One Punch Man Season 3 can suck my entire dick. Because that adaptation is not going well either. My point is this. Sometimes it's just better to read the books. Because there's a common problem that has been coming up on Anime Night, actually. A common problem that is a very easy fix for, which is just to read the books. Because a common problem that keeps coming up is we'll stream the anime, and then at the end of the anime, I'll say, they have confirmed they're making more of this. That's the good news. The bad news is, we're waiting for them to write more of it. Which leads to a multi-year long wait of us getting more material to adapt. Two big examples of this would be Laid Back Camp, which is our cozy camping anime / manga. and Made in Abyss are cutesy, adorable, and fun trip into a giant pit that kills you in very gruesome ways. I love it. I think it's great. Well, you don't like seeing little kids get chopped up? Well, they don't actually chop up little kids, but oh, it gets worse than that. It's actually worse than that. Book adaptations are great, but sometimes it's best to just read the book instead. But there's one that really sucks. One that it just tears me apart inside, and I hate it, and I want more of it, but I can't get more of it. And that is Bodacious Space Pirates. See, here's the problem with the Bodacious Space Pirates is the light novel is finished. The anime didn't adapt all of the light novel. I can't read the light novel. They did not translate the light novel. They're never gonna make more of the anime. And my desire to actually see how the story ends is killing me. I wonder if there's any updates on that. Shall we check? Let's yeah. Let's see. It's an older one. The light novel started in 2008. It ended 11 years ago. There's 12 volumes of it. The anime ran for 26 episodes. That's a lot of episodes. They had a film. There's a manga that didn't really run very long. There's another manga that's still running, but there's only 2 volumes of it. And there's absolutely no word of them translating the light novel so I could actually read it and get closure. How do you think I feel about Black Lagoon? But that's more anime came out in 2007 and has been on hiatus. So, just like Log Horizon. Fascinating take on the trapped in a fantasy world concept. Like, in terms of all the animes that came out of the whole trapped in a video game Sword Art Online bullshit, Log Horizon really did do it the best. Then the writer got arrested for tax evasion, and it's been on hiatus ever since. Which leads to a really good question. If I only write this one book, how the hell am I going to tell the rest of the story? Because like I said earlier in this stream, there are outlines for like 10 books. Maybe 10 books, but not 11. But maybe 10 books. Definitely 5 books. 6 books. 7. I think 7 is where... No, 8. Oh, wait, shit, I forgot about that. Okay, so yes, 9. And then absolutely 10. People do lore streams. Have you noticed that the Calridian lore video has less than 1,000 views on it? I have a deep desire to create these worlds But I also have a deep desire to shove it down your throats until it makes you people physically sick to learn about it. It's like, you want Sandra Pinehoof's entire backstory? Because I have it. She has multiple pages of backstory, including various things she got up to between campaigns. Link to the lore video. Let me find it. It's an older video. We had... There are two Nate Cooper lore videos. There's me, there's my lore video, and then there is the ship. Because I believe... Oh, wow. Actually, the Calridian lore video has less than 100 views. Fuck, guys. Do you really not care about the ship that much? I take offense to that. Here's the thing. If I'm going to tell a story about me, it's not just going to be about me. There was a speech in... And I'd hate to take from 343, but this was the best goddamn speech that Halo ever had. The Halo Wars 2 speech, where he's talking about the ship and the people on board that ship. Where you see half a crew, I see family. And where you see one old ship, I see a home. And that is always worth fighting for. What Halo Wars understands that the rest of Halo absolutely does not understand is that the ship is just as much as a character as the people on board that ship. It absolutely hit home with me. I love a man who can fall in love with their ship. Someone who feels more at home on their ship than they do, like, in their actual home. Someone who sees their crew as family. That's a huge part of the Covenant of Blood in the Night Lords trilogy. Well, I was more thinking about the games, actually, because I don't read the Halo books. Because when you look at the games, the Halo games have a chronic need to absolutely abuse all of their ships. Pillar of Autumn fucking explodes. It crashes at the beginning of the game, sits there all through the game, and then at the end of the game, we blow it up. Forward Unto Dawn, that ship gets slashed in half at the end of Halo 3. Infinity? I'm actually surprised the Infinity lasted as long as it did. All of the hero ships, and that is a term I love, the hero ship, All of the hero ships in Halo receive so much abuse, except the Spirit of Fire, because the Spirit of Fire has so much character put into it. Because here's the thing about the Spirit of Fire, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a great ship. It's old. It's not meant for combat. They hastily converted it for combat. Its armor sucks. Its guns suck. But what it is good at is supporting ground combat units. It's by itself. It's a piece of shit. And that's another thing that the Star Wars writers were really good at. The Millennium Falcon is not a combat ship. It's a freighter ship. But it sucks. Through all the movies, they're having problems with it. The first time we see it start up, Han Solo has to bash a control panel to get it to light up. All through Empire Strikes Back, we're having trouble with the hyperdrive. It's cramped. Pieces are falling off of it that we kind of need. It's not a good ship. But that's what gives it character. The captain actually hated the ship when he first got it. Even better. That's even better. If you can come in hating a ship, but over the course of your career on that ship learn to love it, well, that's even better. Deep Space Nine did that, actually. A show I never watched followed this trend, which I believe it was one of the main characters who actually learned to love that stupid little space station. That's a really fantastic character arc that I love. And I will tell you, we're going to be following a lot of the same trends for this book. Some of the stuff we went over in the Calridian lore video was that Calridian isn't perfect. It's also hastily converted into a warship. It's not really built for this. It's going way outside of its design parameters. The guns soak up too much power. You can't run the microwave and the shields at the same time. You can't run the heavy guns and the shields at the same time. You need to reroute a lot of non-critical power in order to get things to work the right way. Over the course of the Milky Way Civil War, Calridian does get better, but it never becomes perfect. Like, in the lore video, we go into, the various upgrades it gets over the years, including a teleportation relay, which was a fascinating experiment that I undertook, because I wanted to figure out how can I do it better than J.K. Rowling? You thought I wasn't going anywhere with that, but turns out I was. How can I make teleportation viable in a setting where we can FTL jump to the other side of the galaxy in a day? And that's why Calridian's teleporter has a maximum range of 2,000 kilometers. It sucks up a lot of power. It's difficult to use. It takes half a day to recharge. You can only teleport one at a time. And this is why teleportation kind of sucks in this setting. I love digging into this kind of stuff. Like, the technology we have nowadays, how can we adapt it to a galaxy-spanning civilization, but also make it viable? Take spacesuits, for example. Let me pull up mine again, actually. Because, see, when we revealed this suit, we went into details on, kind of the specifications of it. And one of the great ideas that I stole from one of my all-time favorite animes, Planetes, was the idea of a one-size-fits-all spacesuit. Because there's a scene where they fit the gloves to her, and then they fit the helmet as well, and that's it. They figure out how big the gloves need to be, they figure out how big the helmet needs to be, and then that's it. I believe their exact words were, one-size-fits-all spacesuits are in the next room. I love that. Because as it stands right now, spacesuits are extremely expensive, and no one is going to realistically custom fit 100 million spacesuits like they would have to in a spacefaring civilization that is already spanning the galaxy. And I think you really need to think about those tiny details like that. Because, like, if you don't think about the meat and potatoes of your setting, you start to lose grasp on the setting as a whole. When I think about all these things, like, how does terraforming work? What goes into it? How long does it take? How long have they been terraforming Mars? At what point is it breathable? Because when this book takes place, Mars's atmosphere is breathable. I love that. And I'm going to be sprinkling that kind of stuff all throughout the book. Because, like, I'm not just here to tell a story, I'm here to build a universe. I am trying to do both. James Cameron's Avatar set out to build a universe. It wasn't really focused on telling a story. James Cameron just wanted to build a universe. And he did that. I'm trying to do both at the same time. Any questions? Because, if anybody has any questions about the book, I would love to answer them. I would love any feedback that everybody has. I will be responding to comments on the VOD for this stream. By the way, before you ask, I don't know anything regarding a release window. I really don't. Because, like, first I have to write it, and then it has to go to the publishing house, and then they have to edit it, and then we need to figure out box art, and then we need to... Did I say box art? I meant cover art. And then we need to figure out advertising, and then we need to figure out distribution. And yes, Nate is 17 in this book. This is after... Well, it's 1 month after he spent 2 years on Earth studying abroad. That's where Benny came from. Yes, I put my own scooter in the book. And I often fantasize, like, what would that be like if I actually did, like, a book signing at a bookshop and I brought the scooter and it's like, oh my god, it's the real Benny. Because Benny is real. Call it a self-insert if you want. I love that bike, and... What are we doing? 17 Earth years or 17 Mars years? Earth years. Can I sign your scooter? No, you cannot sign my scooter. I can sign your scooter. I'll sign yours, you can't sign mine. Even then... It's a black scooter, so it's not going to show up too good. That was actually a really interesting thing, Mecha Wolf, that I was curious about earlier today. Because, like, when we did the when we did the lore video, we did Matt's age on Earth, and we did Matt's age on Mars. I believe, here, hang on. I believe he was 28 when we did that lore video. So, 28 on the Earth calendar would be 14.8 years on the Mars calendar. So, 17. That's 9. Because it takes Mars a lot longer to go around the sun. The fourth rock from the sun, not the third. It takes a little longer. Days are longer, too. 35 minutes and 33 seconds longer, to be specific. Because I gotta get the science correct. I want to get the science correct. Otherwise, we're gonna have comments. We're gonna have comments like... September 2nd of 2666 wasn't a Thursday. It was clearly a Monday. Or it's going to be a Monday, I should say. And yes, this book is going to use the metric system to the best of my ability. I have several calculators on standby to help me figure out all of this. Lame? No, it's not lame. It's better. Did you know that NASA lost a satellite because they forgot to convert imperial to metric and then back again? Yeah, that was not one of our brightest moments. Metric is better than imperial. Always has been. Anyway, Calridian lore video. I'm not sure if I could link this. Let's see if this works. It's coming from me. I don't see why it wouldn't. There's also the Nate Cooper lore video, but that's the first thing that plays every time you go to the main channel. So you guys probably don't need that. You find that easy enough. I believe the ship really should be considered one of your protagonists. Because, like, this is the thing we live on. This is the thing we use to fight. This is where most of the story is very likely going to take place. It's just as much a character as all of the characters that are crewing the ship. An anime I rewatched recently was Shirobako. It was an anime about making anime. Specifically, they were doing girls in fighter jets. And one of the things he said to the 3D modeler who was designing said jets was, the planes are the protagonists of the series. They need to have as much character as your actual characters. He said the same thing about clouds, because you're going to be seeing these clouds all the time. And that really stuck with me. It's where a lot of the inspiration for this comes from. And any other questions, by the way? Like, how long I'm aiming for, or what kind of alien races? We mentioned one. Yes, there are aliens. Lots of it. Lots of them. What was this about? My book. This stream is about my book. What Viper, what are you talking about? With the planes? Oh. You know, they never went into detail about it. The anime was more about making the anime than it was about the anime itself. We streamed it forever ago. They more recently had a movie. I don't know if they're gonna do much else. What kind of aliens? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Well, the most obvious ones... Well, we mentioned the Ningyo, which is a three-eyed sort of fish race, kind of based on the axolotl. We also have the Verdure, a race of sentient humanoid plants. We actually have one that's gonna be a main character. There's a sentient machine race, a race of robots that doesn't have a name. They go by many names, actually. Robot, automaton, clanker, if you're feeling prejudice. And that is an excerpt from the first robot character they meet. That's a spoiler for you. There are others, such as a race of flightless birds. No, they are not penguins. Automaton call the Helldivers. Nah, these guys are chill. These guys are chill. They have found their place in galactic society. Well, they've chiseled out their own little corner, at least. They coexist with the other races. Everything is fine. Those are just a few of the many, many alien races in this setting. Because why should there just be 3 or 4 or 5 or 6? My desire for there to be multiple races in your setting has carried over into this book. Because I said in, I believe it was our D&D review, I'm not satisfied if there are 7 races aside from your standard humans, elves, dwarfs, and orcs, or what have you. You need to have 7 on top of that, minimum. And that's why our D&D setting has like 37. There are many races in this setting, including ones we won't even meet because they're like, they've just been discovered like off in Andromeda or something. What's that say? A number of them not be humanoid. Why didn't that get added to my chat window? What the hell, YouTube? Yeah, I have plans for a few of those as well. Don't worry. We have all walks of life. I have big plans for this book. The worst part is the book I'm writing here. It really only scratches the surface of this universe. Because there's a lot of space out in space, and we can't explore all of it in just one book. Just one book is not enough. And this is why I explored prospects for 10. Well, let's start with 1. Let's just start with Rebel Spark. So, let's talk logistics. What am I hoping to release this on? When am I hoping to release it? And in what form? Well, I am hoping for ebook minimum ebook. Paperback if we can manage it. Hardcover, not sure about that. Not sure how we would do that yet. And audiobook, I would have to reach out to someone else about audiobook. Because ideally for that, I'd have to go to Audible. Or I'd want to go to Audible, at least. That wouldn't be released here, and if it was released here, it would be members only. Because, like, I'm sorry to say, but I'm not doing this for free. Not this time. All our streams, well, most of them. The Treasure Planet one wasn't. But the rest of our streams are free to watch. But here's a list of things that aren't free. Publishing. Publishing isn't free. Actually, by latest estimates, apparently it's going to cost like $800 to get this all done. Yeah, I'm going to talk to them after taxes. See how that goes. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And I did ask, this was one of the very important questions I asked this company, who is going to be helping me publish the book. I did ask, do you use AI? Because I will not work with AI companies. And they did say no. They did say no. I don't want any AI at all involved in this, except you, Sale. You're special.
Book?
Yes, book. For the record, Sale is an AI voice, but he is based off of Microsoft text-to-speech. I think that's fine. I believe in ethically sourced AI. Sale is ethically sourced. Though I'm not sure how much power it takes up. I'll look into that. Actually, that is important. Alright. So, in terms of a release, like an actual release, if I keep up my current pace, it would either probably be late 2026 to mid 2027. Yeah, it's a big commitment, and I'm only now deep into chapter 4. I'm gonna work on more of it tonight, of course. I'm constantly chipping away at it. But it's probably going to be a while. So, I'll be keeping you folks posted, of course. I'm not gonna lock any of that behind a paywall or anything. Except the book itself. You will have to buy the book. Or, I don't know. Maybe you'll get a free copy on Oktoberfest or something. That'd be weird. That'd be a weird prize to give out, wouldn't it? Giving away free, unsold copies of my book. But yeah. Rebel Spark. Not my first stab at writing, either. I think the first attempt I ever made at writing a book was in middle school, and it sucked really, really bad. Then I did that Black Sky fanfic, and now in my defense, Black Sky was a story filled with great ideas, but I just lost interest in it. I took an actual shot at writing when, I was actually writing a book, but I got, like, 18 words into writing it and then decided, this is cultural appropriation that shouldn't be up to me, and someone from this country should really write it instead. And then I stopped writing that book. But this has gotten significantly further than those two books. So I think there might actually be a shot at a release here. I know I always go into big projects and I give up like halfway through. Like the Hunter reviews all My Little Pony episodes video. That is never going to happen because that's a years-long project that I will never, ever finish. Like, that is just a mountain I cannot climb. And I think we need to accept that that's never gonna happen in a million years. Anyway. I am going to make a commitment here right now. By the power vested in me by myself, I solemnly swear... Here, I'm gonna swear on something. Here. James S.A. Corey. I'm gonna swear on the one James S.A. Corey book that I own that I will probably not give up on this book. I think that's a pretty good thing to swear on. Considering one of the people behind James S.A. Corey came from George R.R. Martin, yeah, that's probably pretty good. Now, if only George R.R. Martin could finish writing his last book. One of these days. One of these days, George. And I'm going to put some fears aside here, right now. If by some God-given miracle we do reach that 10th book, I do know how this story ends. So that won't be a problem for me, unlike George R.R. Martin. So I do know how the story ends. I know how this book ends, too. HBO said they want to redo the Game of Thrones ending. I would love it if they did that. That would be amazing. Anyway. I've got 3 pings on my Discord that I should really answer. 2 of them are stream notifications, and I'm not sure about the other. And now I'm done. So, with that, I'd like to thank everybody who came out today. I'd like to thank you all for listening. I'd like to thank, what is this? I'd like to thank Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions for providing us with our backgrounds today. This is a concentration game that has lo-fi songs. Tons and tons and tons of them, including stuff from Lo-Fi Girl. Yes, that Lo-Fi Girl. They collaborate. Their entire soundtrack is on here. It's not just this window either. You can, here we go. We've got fireplace. We've got Typing, writing, reading, gaming is in here too. Knitting, for some reason. I don't knit. Sipping coffee. We've also got a kitchen. There's a kitchen over here. Oh, it's adorable. Dishwashing. Yes, there's cooking, typing. This is my writing room. Like, more often than not, when I have this game open, I am probably writing my book. It's not just this room, either. It's, here, let me see here. There's also the train. Do all sorts of cool things on a train. Like taking pictures or knitting. Or writing my book. It's got a balcony too, if you're into that. It's been really good for concentration. Anyway. So yeah, big thanks to Spirit City Lo-Fi Sessions for giving me background music for writing my book. I would also like to thank unnamed publishing house that I don't actually remember the name of, because we've only talked once on the phone and a couple times over text. Because in reality, I'm still very much just exploring the options I have for publishing this book, and nothing is set in stone yet. Let me get through writing it first, and then we'll figure all that out. So anyway, I'm glad you guys like it. I'm glad there weren't massive calls for me to just stop wasting my time. Real quick before we go, I just wanted to talk about the schedule real quick. The stream schedule is very shoddy this week, so we're not going to have an actual schedule. You will probably see a stream pop up on Friday. You will definitely see a stream pop up on Saturday. And if I'm feeling adventurous, you may see a stream pop up on Wednesday, 8 o'clock, after work, when I am very tired. We will likely be playing Surviving Mars. But we will definitely be doing Mystery VTube Theater. And actually, I have a movie. I can tell you what movie we're going to be doing. Oh boy! Oh boy! Big reveal. It's The Phantom Planet, 1961. It's another movie I had to put through the, There was a song in it that was still copywritten. So I took YouTube's AI song removal tool that removes the song and nothing else. And then I just downloaded the edited version of the movie that didn't have the song in it. Now we have a totally copyright safe version of the movie. So if you want me to find a good use of AI, it's that fucking tool right there that removes the song and nothing else. That is a great use of AI, and I love it.
Book?
I will never use AI to write this book. You have my word on that. I fucking despise AI that does the work for you. Except when it's to remove a song and not the rest of the audio. That shit is... yeah. And one last thing about Mystery VTube Theater. You may have noticed the Rotor episode got taken down. But the good news is the counter notification has finally been forwarded. So now one of two things is going to happen. One, they sue me. Or they give me back the video. I am so fucking ready either way. You believe Rebel Spark was the placeholder title this whole time? Yeah. I've decided to keep it. I think we're gonna keep that name. Because I've been racking my head for the... like, ever since I started writing it. Like, God, what could I rename it to? Finally, today, I just decided, you know what? It's fine. I think we're actually gonna do it this time. Okay. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I know I did. It was good to finally get some of this book out in the open, or at least the introductory chapter. Well, one of them. There's a few opening chapters. I would like to give a big ol' thank you to our channel members. You guys give me the cash I need to write this book. It's actually really, really helpful. And given that it's going to cost me $800, we may need to do a Kickstarter down the line, because that's $800. Until next time. Oh, wait, hold up. Okay, the stream we were about to raid into was members only. Hang on, I'll find someone else. Tori is live. They're celebrating 13 years of content. Head on over there. Support another YouTube vet. 13? Yeah. Well, it started in 2012. Yeah. That's almost as long as I've been doing this shit. Oh boy. Till next time.